You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin. I'm so excited for this next segment. All of you dog lovers out there are going to absolutely love this next segment. And even if you're not a dog lover, you're going to love it anyway. Our next guest is Amanda Rhee. She is a canine wellness practitioner and certified educator of Ayurveda, meditation, and yoga since 2001. I have had the pleasure of calling her friend, and also I've worked with her. And she's the owner, founder of Sama Dog Wellbeing. And I am just so happy you're zooming in. Amanda, welcome to America Trends.
Thank you, Mary. So good to be here with you.
So good to have you zoom in. I feel like I don't even know if we've met in person now that I think about it.
I know, actually, now that I think about it, it's true, but I sure feel like we have.
We've done everything on Zoom together. So
we have.
I guess
that
this
shows the new era that we're in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A closeness without that physical space.
I know, but I feel like everything we do is just, you have such a presence about you that I feel I can get it through Zoom.
Thank you.
So I wanted everyone to know about you first and foremost. And actually, I was reading on your website something I didn't know about you, which was your story about how you first fell in love with dogs and how you got a closeness with them. So I wanted you to share that story.
Yes. It kind of began at the beginning in that when I was born, my parents decided to get a puppy at the same time. Interesting choice, I agree. but that's what they did. His name was Prince, a Sheltie. And then when I was 3 years old, Mom was in the house on the phone. You know, back in those days, you were connected to the wall. And she was chatting with Grandma, and little Mandy snuck out the back door and fell into the pool. And Prince, our Sheltie, who is not known for its swimming capabilities, had never jumped in the pool up until that point. He jumped in and he saved my life. And so Mom heard all the commotion. She came out to find me on the side of the pool, soaking wet, Prince as well, but both of us lived through the experience. So wow. I just know that at a very deep soul level, that created a bond that has never, ever gone away.
Absolutely. Wow. I did not know that in all this time that I've worked with you. I didn't know that story. And it explains a lot, and actually I could totally see that connection that you have, because I definitely know you have a connection with dogs. And then also, so you have this passion for dogs that went just from that moment on to you guys you owned a shelter or something?
Yeah, I had a nonprofit for several years. That was about 6 to 10 years ago, started that. I actually did matchmaking. It was called Soul Playmates, where I would find out what someone wanted in a dog, and then I would find that dog in the shelter/rescue system. I would bring it into my home, rehab it, get it all ready, potty trained, all the things that people struggle with. That would take about a month, and then I'd adopt it out to that person. And I would always guarantee that that dog would land in the right home, even if that match wasn't right. But luckily, every single one of the 28 or so that I did, they were all a perfect match, and I still hear from them all the time and get pictures.
Can you do that with humans too?
Yeah, really. Hook you up, girl.
Yeah, please. So, and then also you started working in the Ayurveda space, wellness space for humans as well, and you worked at the Chopra Center here in San Diego, right?
Yep. So, yes, I started teaching yoga about 20 years ago. Went off to retreat/ashram for those that are familiar with this world of yoga and meditation and Ayurveda. So I went to this spiritual community actually here nearby where I live and studied, and that was about 20 years ago. And then about 15 years ago, I started working very closely with Dr. Deepak Chopra, who's based there in San Diego. And I did all of their certifications in yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, taught and hosted, kind of was the MC at all of these worldwide meditation retreats that we did, eventually ended up being the vice president there at the Chopra Center until I got this calling from deep within my soul that I had to start Sama Dog. So
yeah, and I want to talk about that next. And it's interesting because almost everybody we've interviewed on this show that talks about starting their own business has said that they were doing something else and then had that calling and had that wake up moment or had that passion in them, and they thought, this is what I need to do. And I love to see that in people. But first, before we get to Sama Dog, I want to talk about what is Ayurveda, because I remember when I first started working with you, you said, do you know what it is? And I said, oh yeah, sure. No, I have no idea. So I've heard it, but I don't know if I know what it is. So if you could explain it to me again and to our viewers.
Oh, sure. In a nutshell, Ayurveda is, thousands and thousands of years old, just like the yoga tradition. So, in a tiny nutshell, it's the science of life. That's what it translates to. It's a Sanskrit word, like the word yoga or shavasana or all of those other familiar terms, namaste, that some of us have. So those are all in the language of Sanskrit, and Ayurveda, as mentioned, translates to the science of life, the science of nature is what I like to call it. So it guides us to understand our connection, our deep connection with nature and the elements, the five elements. Pardon me, my eye suddenly got very leaky. Um, and our connection with the five elements, those five elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth, they occur within us and around us. You can see that very easily when you look at the trees and the rocks, but you see even less solid, less earth, like when you look at the clouds in the sky. But everything essentially is made up of those same five ingredients, and that includes us and all animals. So the point of Ayurveda is when we can understand that delicate balance and the recipe that we are created with, which is called our dosha. That's our mind body type. When we look at our dosha, we then know how to make various choices that keep us in balance, whether it's with our food or supplements, beverages, or whether it's even aromas or sounds or music or clothing, colors, routines of the day, all kinds of ways to connect ourselves. There you go. To mind, body, and spirit. So it encompasses all layers of our being, helping to fundamentally bring us back to that essential state of balance. And that's what the word sama is, as in Sama Dog, my company.
Sama equals balance. Yeah.
Yep, like an essential equanimity.
Yes. And actually that word equanimity is on the inside of my ring.
Oh,
Anyway,
cool.
I wanted to say that, it's like people will study Ayurveda for themselves, or they'll do yoga classes for themselves, and they'll think about balance for themselves. But I love what you have done, and I think you're one of a kind companies that does this, is you figure out how to take those same principles and translate it into your world of your dog, you with your dog, and then also the balance for your dog, because it goes into what they eat and how they play and how they sleep and all the things, right?
All the things,
All
yeah.
the things.
And even the conditions that they will tend to get, like anybody who has a dog knows that some will tend towards skin issues, where others will tend towards digestive issues, or some, like my sweet Bernedoodle, she's a big, giant breed dog, and she tends towards mobility issues. So most dogs do have, like humans, a tendency towards certain ailments, and that actually boils down to their dosha. So that's what we can learn to very easily. It sounds a little bit complicated, but actually it's very simple to recognize what is it that our dog is and what choices can we make that are ideal for their body mind. And then we make them. And that's what I help people to do through, various educational opportunities and courses and things like that, or through one-to-one consultation.
And okay, so many questions. But the first one is, what was the moment when you said, I need to take Ayurveda and take it to dogs, or I need to take, when did this vision come to you?
It came through my dog Maya, who actually passed away last year.
Oh, that's
but
right, I remember.
She was a very happy, healthy girl after some time. At first, we rescued her prior to this time at about 2 years. And she just started getting some extreme imbalance. They really couldn't figure out what it was. I took her to many different veterinarians and specialists. It all came down to severe allergies was what it was labeled as. But we were losing her. She was skin and bones. She had plucked off all the hair on her belly and her paws. She was constantly whining. She wouldn't eat in any sort of consistent way. Extremely reactive and nervous, and just a very unhappy, unhealthy dog. We struggled with this for probably, to that extreme, like 6 months, until one day it was like a light bulb that went off in my head when I realized that the imbalances that I was feeling were very similar to the imbalances that Maya was exhibiting. And I first recognized the connection between the two of us and what we both were going through, which I'd never even thought of before, of how much our own reality, energy, mood, emotions reflects onto our companion animals. So once I learned and saw that, then I thought, okay, Well, I've been practicing this a long time. I have a whole toolkit of modalities and specialties and methods and tools. So why don't I, as I apply them to myself to bring myself into balance, because sometimes the hardest person to work with is ourselves.
Truth.
As I apply it here, let me see if I can make some version of that applicable to Maya. So I did a little research. There really wasn't any Ayurveda for animals out there, not much at all. It's mostly been applied to humans for all of these thousands of years, strangely. And so I leaned into the holistic health world for animals. I looked into traditional Chinese medicine for some of the indicators of what to be cautious about or anything that could be harmful for animals. And I set up a protocol, Maya, and I followed it. And really within like 1 week, I saw a difference.
Wow.
Within 2 months, there was transformation. And within 6 months, she was a new dog.
That's amazing. I love that story. And we have to take a break, Amanda, but I hope you'll stick around because I have lots more questions and I want so many people to learn everything about you. So everyone at home, stay right where you are. We've got more America Trends right after this. You're watching America Trends. I'm Burt-Godwin, learning all about Ayurveda for dogs with Amanda Ree of Sama Dog. She is a canine wellness practitioner, and she is so knowledgeable. Amanda, you just know so much about this world of Ayurveda and balance, and then I love watching you put it into practice with animals, and I know you are dogs specifically, and I know that you mentioned before the break, you were mentioning the word dosha. And it's funny because on yesterday's show, I was talking to somebody about online quizzes. And I said, you know what? I know someone that has an online quiz. And it's a really good one because I was talking about the ones that are like, find out which Ted Lasso character are you or something. And they're really just to like get your information and sell you a bunch of random stuff that you don't need or want. Or track you or something, scary. But this, I really think, your quiz on your website is so important to people who have dogs and want to learn more about what's maybe ailing them, or like you said, the course of action is going to be categorized by what dosha they are, right? So tell me a little bit about that dosha quiz and how that rolls out. And what does dosha mean again?
Yeah, dosha is, good question, good starting point.
Yeah.
Dosha is our mind-body type. So it is the formulation of elements that makes up our physical disposition and tendencies and the way our physical body kind of works. Just to give an example, like if we're tend towards dryness and lightness, or whether we tend towards more heat in the body or more heaviness and more dampness in the body. So we are able to recognize what combination of elements that we are, and those are represented by the 3 doshas known as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha.
I remember
Some of
those.
our listeners might never have heard these crazy words before, and it's not really so important. You'll get to understand them as you move through information. But yeah, on our homepage right there, you'll see Take the Dog Dosha Quiz. You can answer some questions, just takes like 2-3 minutes, and then you'll get information about your dog's specific dosha. And right away, you'll get videos, instructional information, protocols, you'll get food recommendations, you'll get energy healing techniques, you'll get particular meditations if you're interested in such a thing to do with that particular dog in order to bring them into balance, and so much more. There's the word dosha, so you can see it spelled out there. That's helpful.
Yeah, and then people can base how, meal types and what kind of activities and sleep routines or whatever it might be based on those 3 doshas.
Yes. And overall in Ayurveda, what we're looking to do is align to nature. So aside from the doshas, which is a very important part of the conversation, even aside from that, though, we're looking to see how do we connect ourselves more with nature's rhythms, or the seasons, or the weather that's outside, the weather that's going on inside our body, our moisture levels versus our heat level versus that dampness. It's about creating, again, balance and just learning how to do that, because we might think we do that, but in our Western world, especially, we've removed ourselves, and especially our companion animals. Think of that. Their lineage is back to wolves, and the difference between a wolf and my giant Bernedoodle here on the floor, or my Jack Russell, is quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we have taken them out of this natural world. We've put them in a home
Yes.
We've given them people lives, human daily routines, human foods, and with that, we have moved them away from their natural rhythms. So it's really quite simple to bring them back to it once we know how to identify that and what the steps would be to do it.
And how did you, because I know you do most of your stuff online, right? Which was perfect when COVID hit. You were already kind of set up to do all of your classes and everything online. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we still do that. We do a big course every year. It's actually coming up. It starts next week on Thursday, and that's it's called Total Wellbeing for Dogs, and that's like our big signature course. We have all these various experts that come in and teach along with me. The foundation is Ayurveda, but we bring in all kinds of stuff, the holistic world of animals.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about that because I know you do work with quite a few experts. So tell me a little bit about the different experts that you bring in.
The primary expert that I'm so closely in partnership with, but also in friendship with, because we've spent so much time together and we just have so many of the similar interests, is Dr. Katie Kangas. She's one of the best holistic veterinarians in America. She's based in San Diego, and her office, her clinic is called Integrative Veterinary Care. There she is there, Dr. K. So she has taught me so much. My background is not in veterinary medicine. My background is, as we talked about, in yoga and meditation and Ayurveda. So in these holistic sciences. So I needed to, in order to understand what I'm doing and be effective and be safe, I needed to understand a lot more about that veterinary side and have someone that I could consult with some of the more difficult cases or the more advanced cases that I knew how to integrate both what the veterinarian side was telling us as well as what we can do at home for our pets. So she's one of our primary experts. Also, Dr. Barry Sands, another amazing holistic vet that is based in San Diego. She's an ER vet. She also has a great understanding of the spiritual, ethereal world. So this whole like mind, body, energy connection, she is quite the scientist at. So it's very cool to listen to the way she brings it all together. And clearly we have a lot in common. So that's another person that I have learned so much from, and both of these ladies being mentors to me. Then there's several Ayurvedic experts that I am closely aligned to, Dr. Suhas being one of them, one of the great Ayurvedic teachers in America. Another person, all of these people are, by the way, in the course that I teach, the big annual course. Another person is Susan Weiss-Bolin, a well-known author on Ayurvedic wisdom, just released a book about seasonal care, and she just loves animals so much, so her passion comes through really strongly, and she's a great sounding board for the specific Ayurvedic application to animals. We do a lot together.
I have a question about, we're running out of time, which is a bummer because I could talk to you all day, but I wanted to know, if somebody is like in love with their dog but they're not necessarily, they hear the word Ayurveda and they're like, that's too woo-woo for me.
What is all that?
But their dog is, having ailments and showing these symptoms and dry skin or maybe worse, something serious, or they're barking too much. Do you have something that you say to people that are like, I don't even know how to pronounce that word, I'm not doing that, to bring them in and to say, maybe open your mind a little bit?
Yeah, I think the primary place is food. Through food, we all, most of us at least, love to feed our animals. Our animals would agree with that joyful experience of the daily routine. But we really misunderstand, especially in our convenient modern American society, what animals really need to be species appropriate. Think of back to the wolves, right? They're not eating kibbles and bits.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't even eat that if they found a bag of it in the trash. They probably would steer away. So our animals have become accustomed to eating these things, and the gap in our knowledge and understanding is what I love to speak to. I get crazy about dog food, as you know. I can go on and on and on for days.
Okay, I want you to show, before we run out of time, because I know I want to see your dog. Don't you have one next to you really fast?
Yeah.
We've got like 30 more seconds. I want to see one of your.
I don't think there's. I don't think
not
we
one
have
close.
one close enough.
Okay, that means we've got to come back. We've got to have you back another time. But I want everyone with a dog to think about. Go to samadog.com to check it out, and everyone at home, thank you so much as always for watching America Trends. We're here every night, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. and we'll see you again tomorrow night.